the king of kings. I hear voices in my head, they counsel me, they understand, they talk to me.
Welcome everyone to the very first TFOF interview show. We were able to bring in the Atlanta Vipers this week. Before we bring you our actual scheduled TFOF inaugural show, I'm going to go ahead and bring you our interview show first, and then we go into the actual show. So first, right off the bat, I just want to say thank you to the Atlanta Vipers owner, Brian Barnett. And we also have the GM, Ryan Catterson, and also their head coach, Dan Kincaid. Welcome, everybody.
Oh, yeah, anytime. Go Vipers.
And once again, thank you guys for coming in here for this interview. Let's get this stuff right off. This is for everyone who would like to answer. First question is, it's only been a preseason and a couple of weeks here into the league, but what are your thoughts so far on this new idea of fantasy football where you have three people trying to run a team, a GM, an owner, and a head coach?
Well, my first thought is it's exciting. I like the idea of it, but overall, just with me being commissioner and being one of the owners, is nervousness because I don't really know what to expect. Don't know really how to feel as the commissioner. Just everybody coming to me trying to, or just asking how it's going to work and everything, and not really at times having an answer for them because a lot of times they pose questions I haven't thought about. But when it comes to the ownership side of it, just really excited. Just because it's something you don't ever think about fantasy football, something you don't really deal with. It's kind of neat to think about. Just the money side of it, not having to worry about all the other stuff. And so far, I really liked just conversing. We have a text group going we call the Atlanta War Room. And, there's been some funny conversations, some serious conversations. It's just, fun to get more input on one team. Talking to two different people just about one team and just kind of get an idea of what direction we're going to go.
My thoughts on this new style of football, I'm not sure how much I can add to the mix and other than what's been said or discussed, but it's neat. It's totally different, and it's just not just one person managing a team, picking some people and playing them each week. You have a group dynamic. You've got interactions between the head coach and then you're either responsible for somebody or your people are responsible for you. It's like I said, it's a neat twist. Enjoying it so far. Glad we have a lot of season left, needless to say, and hopefully it'll continue to grow, and we'll see what happens.
Well, I think it takes a little getting used to, of course, having everything divided up. Me being the GM, I kind of have most of my work done in the off season, and then during the season, it's really watching games, checking the coach's decision, kind of going by what he does, which is tough because usually the fantasy football, most of your work is in season. And for the GM, really, there's not a whole lot of work in season. The bulk of the work is the off season.
All right, well, that was actually some great answers. It's nice to get three different people's perspective exactly on how they feel this league is and everything, and what is expected of them. But this question is going to be for Dan, the head coach of the Atlanta Vipers. Week 1, you had a tough loss against Carolina, and the record right now you're 1-2. But are you feeling any pressure from the upper management, from the GM or the owner at all, as you're going into your next weeks here and trying not to leave as many points on the bench that have happened or that has been happening?
Am I feeling any pressure? Yeah, you might say that. I left points on the bench. I had Antonio Brown riding the pine in week 1. Didn't get my lineup in time, for Thursday's game. Let myself down, let my GM down, let the owner down. That hurt us. That basically caused us a loss. With that, we would have won the game. We would also been the highest scoring team that week. Lesson well learned. You can say that's not going to happen again. Owners put a little pressure. Probably not as much as I put on myself, though. Just part of that group dynamic with this new style of play. I mean, man, you really you feel responsible, and it's not like I just left my own, had my own team in, some little Yahoo league and didn't get my lineup. That's kind of not that big a deal. With this, though, you're letting other people down, and man, you kind of carry the weight of the world on your shoulders with that. But I think we'll be all right. We got a lot of football left. I think we'll bounce back and be all right. We got a good team. We've got a good organization. They've let it be known they're not happy, as they should, and I totally understand. And we'll take it from there and see what happens. Watch out, I think we'll get on a roll, and a lot left to see from us this season.
That was a great answer, Dan. Thank you very much for that one. Now, Ryan, this one is for you as the GM. This is a position that some would say all fantasy footballers are actually doing without realizing it. But what are the pitfalls that you're not used to being a GM?
Well, I kind of talked about it in the first question. And I think the pitfalls that you can run into is, as a GM, you're making decisions on who to draft, and you're probably thinking along the lines of what you're going to do from a coaching standpoint. And now I'm not the coach, so I kind of have to communicate with the coach. My particular team, I use the coach's input a lot for who to draft, type of players he likes, because if I drafted players that I usually like, he might not use them the same way I would use them during the season. And so really, you kind of need head coach's style to come through with the team you're drafting, so you really got to communicate with them. Well, normally, you would just be communicating that in your own brain. So it's been interesting.
All right, well, that was a great answer, Ryan. Thank you very much. Once again, this is the David Rome Show, TFOF's first interview. We have the Atlanta Vipers in the studio today. We've already just heard from Dan about a couple of takes from him. We have Ryan just answered a question. Let's get a question to the owner, Brian. With this being a completely different fantasy football idea and a way to play and not having your fingers on everything since you're an owner, what thoughts did you have when you had to decide on what kind of a GM that you wanted to hire?
Yeah, not having my hands on everything has definitely been one of the most unique experiences of the league, and one of the reasons I wanted to be an owner. Just to not have any I'm not going to say not having any input, but not really at times having any idea of what's going on the football side of things. I know that Dan and Ryan, they've said, they talk amongst each other, not including me, which is, fine. It's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to be an owner, is not to really have to deal with any of that and be concentrating on making the money for Ryan to spend. But when it came to hiring a GM, I really had just two names on my list, and number one, without a doubt, was Ryan. Just playing with him just last year in TCAA, and just talking to him overall about fantasy, and just knowing how competitive he is, and just being able to talk to him about things, I feel like there'd be good communication, which there has been. And then Matt Ford was another one that I wanted, just from talking to him throughout the season, same thing, TCAA, and hanging out with him at the draft. I liked his strategy, I liked his style. At the original, I think it was the original TCAA draft, if I remember right. And he was one that I'd looked at, and I'd talked with both of them. And I know Matt really thought that I was going to hire him, and I really wanted Ryan, talked to Ryan. Ryan said he was solid, but, as you know, there was a whole negotiating period, which was a lot of fun because I really started to get nervous and felt like I had to kind of lock up a couple. Ended up kind of sort of locking up three, and that was hard when the announcement came out that I had actually hired Ryan, who, again, was my number one choice. And, I know Dallas jumped the gun, and I made him think I was going after Bryce, who's no longer in the league. He ended up jumping the gun and paying him way too much. So, and now he's actually doing all the work himself. But, that's the nature of the beast sometimes. But, Matt, I felt bad for him. He kind of got screwed out of a couple places he wanted to go. But, again, I wanted Ryan. I set my sights on Ryan, and we had talked about, before we even signed, who we were going to look at, who we was going to hire. And I liked who he was looking at for head coach. And, he had 2 or 3 names, but he had his eyes set on one, and I liked it. So, it was a no-brainer for me to go with Ryan.
Well, it sounds like you definitely had your idea of what you were looking for. I guess there just wasn't a certain GM out there, that you just apparently didn't want to work with. Um, you know, it's kind of a shame, really, when you think about it, because a lot of the GMs are pretty talented, but that's besides the fact. Once again, thank you for that answer, Brian. Now, this is for all of you, between Brian, Ryan, and Dan, whoever's brave enough to answer this. A little fun question here, but inside the Atlanta Vipers war room, inside the front office, who do you see in this front office between the three of you would be the first person to blow up on somebody, and what's the reason why?
Well, that would definitely be Brian. What the reason would be, I'm not totally sure. I would say he likes to be hands-on, and so if things don't go quite right, I think he has a tendency to put the hands on, and that could lead to some differences of opinions. So, plus he's also the commish. So then you have commish, owner, which no other group has in their front office. So we have like really a four-headed front office, and that can lead to some conversations.
Well, if you would have asked me a couple of weeks ago, I'd have definitely said Ryan, our GM, just because how competitive he is. He's very outspoken at times. He's always getting his point across, is what I loved about him. It's one of the main reasons I want to hire him. But it actually happened week one via text, and unfortunately it was me. But when you're sitting in your office and you know that Antonio Brown's had a good game, and you go to bed and everything and feeling good about the start of the week, and then you get up the next morning and you realize he's on the bench. There was something said to our coach, but it was addressed in house, and Dan owned up to it, so I had nothing but respect for him. So then just recently, just seeing Carson Palmer out there as a free agent, no moves were made, kind of said something to Ryan, but I need to learn to sit back and realize, I got to let these guys do what they're doing. We've had a good start to this week. We had a great win last week. So I just kind of need to keep my mouth shut and let them do their jobs, and I'll be the first one to admit that.
Well, guys, I want to thank you very much. Dan looks like he's going to stay mum on this one. Can't blame the guy, when you make that kind of a blunder in week one. So, I probably wouldn't say anything anyway either, Dan. Anyway, guys, thank you very much. The Atlanta Vipers, everyone. Brian Barnett, the owner, the GM, Ryan Catterson, and their head coach, Dan Kincaid. Once again, thank you so much. Now, for everyone else listening, we're going to go ahead and cut away to a commercial break. And when we return, we will be bringing you the very first ever TFOF inaugural show, hosted by David Rome and Ryan Castillo. Stay tuned.
It's a new day, yes it is.
Welcome, everyone, to the very first episode of the Tennessee Front Office Football League, the TFOF. I am your host, David Rome, and joining me this week is none other than my co-host, Ryan Castillo. Ryan, how's it going today?
Good. Glad to be here, Jordan.
It is glad to have you back this year, going into the TFOF. You joined me a couple times last year doing the TCAA and a couple of the TFLs, but this is the first episode of the TFOF, so it's a pleasure to have us here together.
Yeah. Well, it's historic night. First ever show, and we good to get a new show theme going.
No, it's going to be a definite good show. We're right off the bat, our good and bad of each, the North and South. Would you like to start with the bad or the good?
Why don't you go ahead and name the good? See.
All right. Well, we're going to start with the North. And for my good, it's a tough decision, really, because you have three teams 2-1. But I'm going to go with the Green Bay Backdoor Bandits. They've won their last two games, and this past week, they scored 180 points, which is the highest weekly total point so far this week, or in our league so far. So there's nothing, you can't beat that. It's 180 points. They beat the Buffalo Biscuits 180 to 122. I mean, I don't know what more you could say about that result.
Yeah, they're definitely a monster team, putting up a lot of points. I agree with you there. I think they played Atlanta this week, so tough to be in the Atlanta clubhouse, trying to game plan for them. Maybe a bad in that same division. I think I got to look at Washington. They've had 3 weeks now under their belt. Haven't cracked 100 in any of those 3 weeks. I just don't think in this league you're going to win too many games if you can't get over the 100 barrier. I mean, you might win 1, 2 here and there if you catch a team on an off week, but you're really going to have to put up more points than sub 100 weeks, 3 weeks in a row. So I think they're the clear bad in that division. If I had to name a good myself, I would probably go in the other division and look at the other undefeated team, Dallas. 3-0, beat all of their division rivals. Weren't really close in any of their games. I think the closest one that they had was by 18 points. So they're killing everybody they play. I think they'd be the other good team right now in the league.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. Dallas Outlaws have probably what I would say you couldn't argue the best head coach out there. I know that the GMs were probably fighting all over to get Jeff because of his pedigree that he's got. And obviously it shows right after 3 weeks of the TFOF bringing their team to 3-0. So I'd have to completely agree with that being a good on the north side of things as well. My bad for that side of the conference, or the South, I'm sorry. Dallas is in the South. I would say Carolina Cougars. There is complete disarray that's going on in their front office. They had just recently lost their owner. It's the GM trying to run everything, being an owner, being a coach. It's almost what Jerry Jones would love to be, but knows he couldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's been the offer out there to try and get him some help, but running all 3 of these tasks, I think is just a big ask for anybody to do, especially if you're not prepared to do it. One person quits, another person drops out. All of a sudden, you've got 3 jobs you have to do, 2 job openings, you could say. I mean, what do you do?
Oh, I'm sure it's taxing on the poor guy. I mean, I feel bad for the GM not having anybody really to – I mean, the whole purpose of this league is to work with 2 other people, at least one more, where some people could have dual roles. But it's almost like he's just playing a fantasy league by himself like normal. He doesn't even know what this league is about yet. He hasn't had – it's the beginning of the league. It's for 3 weeks in. We've had a preseason of drafts and pickups. But I think that's probably what's missing really in Carolina is having that owner and a head coach to help balance out some things. So, yeah, definitely Carolina, they're my bad. Let's see here.
Well, from a devil's advocate perspective, let's say, let's try and use this show to maybe give this overwhelmed guy a little help, right? So let's say in a situation, he's got to run 3 jobs, right? So let's just put you in a situation. You know what I mean? Let's say you all of a sudden were the owner of this team, right?
Okay.
What would you do in that situation to try and turn it around?
Well, I mean, the first thing you would do as incoming owner of a team of this magnitude, once again, brand new idea that we have going on here, the TFOF, where you have multiple people doing one team's job. But as an owner, you would definitely want to sit down, chat with your GM, see where he's at, because you'd be new to the team. So you'd want to see where he's at. And I think you'd want to get yourself a head coach that you really feel comfortable with, since you didn't have that way to get chemistry going. I mean, this is mid-season. Even though it's 3 weeks in, you're in week 4, But I mean, it's mid-season, so you don't want to just go out and get anybody. You want to bring in somebody that you know real well, that you can trust.
Someone you had worked with before, you got a comfort level with, so you can go right into fixing it.
Yeah, it's like having the right co-host on a show. You can't just bring in anybody. So you want to make sure you have that correct chemistry in there. So yeah, you want to get somebody that you could trust right off the bat on a situation that is it's a bad situation right now. So you gotta put the Band-Aid on it real quick. So you bring in somebody you know. I mean, let's look at their roster. Let's just go ahead and let's help out the GM.
Sure.
Let's hope nobody else out there is probably helping this guy. We don't really know. But let's say if we were able to help this GM right off the bat, I'm looking at bye weeks.
Yeah.
And he's got two defensive tackles with a week 5 bye week. He's in trouble next week.
Defensive end, I think. Yeah.
Defensive end he's got some problems. But I mean, defensive tackles both are in week 5.
Oh
yeah. So I mean, and we can go talk about his kicker in week 6.
Well, yeah, he's got Jurel Casey. He's a defensive end on a bye. Daniel Jones on a bye. So both of those are on a bye. But his defensive end, Randy Gregory,
which was just reactivated, by the way. He had him on the IR. He had to just reactivate him onto the roster.
Yeah. So I would probably move him on in, activate him from the injured squad. Put him in, get him ready to go. We have Tom Brady's bye.
Oof.
Yeah. So I would maybe take him out, throw Newton in, try and give him the start.
Well, I mean, after last week, Tannehill would be a tough go. All of a sudden, you can't trust Miami. They were like a darling in the beginning of the season, preseason. You're like, oh, let's do Miami. They might be good. This could be Tannehill's year. He's got to prove something. But I mean, you always know you're going to get points with Cam. So I would agree to starting Cam Newton in this process.
Yeah, Cam versus the Bucks. I think he's probably going to put up some good points.
That defense of the Bucks, there's no reason to even talk about it because it's just that bad. I mean, when Luke McCown is scoring, I think he scored 20 points on them.
Yeah.
Luke McCown.
Yeah.
Might as well just call him Vinny Testaverde.
Indeed, yeah.
Let's see here. How else could we help out the GM for Carolina? Let's see here. Let's see. We talked the defensive ends. I mean, you can't. You're right. You have Gregory, and you can't start Cameron Wake, even though you would like to, but he hasn't even woken up yet this season, so that's a problem. He's got a kicker, but in a couple weeks he's going to be in trouble because of a bye week, and he only has the one kicker.
Yeah.
I would sit Jimmy Graham. I would play Charles Clay right now over Jimmy Graham. Just hasn't caught on yet.
But then you run the risk of you sit him, and then that's the week he breaks out. Like at this point, you're almost like you drafted him, you put some stock into him. I don't know what his cost is right now, but I mean, at a certain point, you got to ride with who you bought. You know what I mean? So like maybe you would trade him. But if you don't, I think you kind of have to keep him in just to like hopefully he breaks out. And is it possible he breaks out against Detroit? Sure. I mean, they're 0-3. You know what I mean? It's not like they're playing their worst defense they've played in the 4 weeks. This might be his time.
Well, first, for some statistics here that our stat boys brought in, they're facing the New England Giants. Who the heck am I even talking about right now? Buffalo. They're facing the Giants. So in tight ends alone, they gave up 21 points to Witten, 8.7 points to Jacob Tammy of Atlanta, and for Washington, Jordan Reed scored 11 points. So you're they're giving up, I don't know, what is that, an average of 12 points? Oh, wait, they also give up 7.8 points to Gavin Escobar of Dallas. So 49 points given up in 3 weeks to their tight ends. Comparative to, let's see, what has Jimmy Graham done? Or I guess the defense that Jimmy Graham is facing.
Jimmy Graham has done
They're going up against the Lions defense.
Yeah.
And tight ends, they've given up 41 points as well. So, I mean, this could be pretty even right there, to tell you the truth. But
it definitely would be a tough call to whoever their coach would be. If they got a new coach, that'd definitely be something you have to address. I know my current team, Atlanta, we have a similar situation to the Graham situation with Anderson, CJ Anderson. What is he going to wake up? Is he going to continue to play like this the whole year? Will be a sit-in, and then you miss out on his finally this big game, or do you just keep riding with him and keep tossing him?
Similar situation that we had in Tennessee. First 2 weeks with Andrew Luck. I talked to my head coach. I'm like, hey, we may have to start Derek Carr. I never thought we'd say that, and I didn't think Carr would be as good as he was when I took him in the draft as just a viable backup for the bye week. Because it's freaking Andrew Luck. But to actually think, let's start somebody other than Luck on a non-bye week. It's tough. And the other thing I think I would do, you have some of his players, like he's got a guy on the taxi squad. Eating up a taxi squad spot where you could put into IR on Jay Ajayi for the Miami running back. Put him in your injured reserve. You could push down somebody else that's in your active roster who, like Kenny Stills, he's wasting time in there. Freaking even Cameron Wake, really, and get somebody in free agency when the waiver hits. Maybe there's got to be people out there, I'm sure, that could help this team out. But
so you were saying if you were hypothetically an owner of this team, when you were talking to your GM, you would be telling them, these are the points I want you to focus on. And the thing is, if this team had an owner, then he'd be able to focus on just the GM things. And you can see those things are suffering a little bit because he's trying to do all three. You know what I mean?
That's very accurate. Good assessment. He's got to do all the ownership duties. How's the money situation? How's the concessions? How's the parking lot? Do we need to retar it? Is it too hot outside? Do we need to get our people water? Stuff crazy. Do we need to bring in a boxing match to make more money for the stadium? Stuff like that. March Madness is just around the corner. Should you be getting that into your arena, wherever you're at? So you've got that issue. Then he's also having to be the head coach to set the lineup. So he's like, do I need to pick up somebody? I got to worry about roster positions. Who do I start? Like we've already said, it's a tough decision to start. Where really he's supposed to just go, here you go, dude. Here's the roster I've given you. Do your job. He's saying that to himself.
Yeah. Well, it seems like from what you mentioned there, you know a lot of the pressures facing an owner. Like, is that something you would ever be interested in doing yourself?
Well, when this was all said and done, putting my non-David Rome hat on, putting on the Bromey, we'll say, David Brome hat when this was all started up, I toggled between being an owner and a GM. And I was a little worried of being an owner because you really are hands off of the team. You don't really, you put in the little dollar bids of saying, hey, I'm overriding your decision. But really, you're just sitting back in the owner's seat, hoping your team does good. You fire somebody if you got to, but you really don't have any say. So I was like, I didn't want that type of position until I was completely ready. Am I ready for it now? I don't know yet. I don't know. I can't answer that. We're 3 weeks into the season, and I don't want to. I'm a Tennessee Stonewall, so my focus is on the Tennessee Stonewalls.
Until that changes.
Well, I don't know why we're saying anything about next year. I'm a Tennessee Stonewall. I have, I think, a 4-year contract with them. I'm a man who honors their contract. That's now unless more money comes, I got a family to feed.
Sure.
So I don't,
Now, see, from my standpoint, when I was going into this league, I was kind of thinking between GM and head coach. You know what I mean? Because I'm more of a hands-on kind of guy. I don't feel like the the ownership thing. I could easily see myself being a head coach somewhere, you know, because I'm making moves. In either case, I didn't want to be both GM and head coach, where you're drafting people and you do it, because then that's just like a regular fantasy team.
Correct.
That's what this poor guy is having to do right now. I'd like to either take somebody else's roster and coach it, or give somebody a roster and then see how they coach that roster. You know what I mean? So I would say either GM or head coach are my thing, because then I'm having to use something that somebody else is giving me. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a handicap.
Which is what the point of this whole league is.
Right.
Which I think when Brian came up with this idea, I said, I don't know, dude. 3 different people running a team?
Sure.
I mean, chaotic. But, I mean, as we learned in our, the interview that I had with the Atlanta Vipers, one of the things I learned is that you could hear already just after a couple of weeks, the 3 of them sound like they talk a lot about what's going on. And, I mean, you know firsthand also how it works as well.
Sure.
With, being, a member of the Atlanta Vipers.
Right.
So you know what's going on in that aspect of talking to 2 other people of who's doing what. And he doesn't have that, Carolina.
Yeah.
Carolina, if you need any, we're all friends here, and in some way, shape, or form. I mean, I'm sure the rest of the league would help him out. I mean, we just gave him free tidbits now on the show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Carolina, reach out to any of us. I'm sure any of us will help you out if you have any problems with anything. Need a little bit more time with something. I don't know. Just, I feel bad for the guy.
Well, I mean, it has been a little while that those positions have been vacant. I'm sure he's working behind the scenes, contacting people. I mean, we don't have access to all the people he's contacting. I mean, those people probably will need to be able to say if they were being contacted, until contracts are on the table and signed and everything. But I'm sure stuff is going on. We'll just have to wait and see if anything happens.
I mean, in all fairness, it's probably really hard to focus in Carolina right now. I mean, I don't know if people are actually watching the news, but there's a freaking hurricane coming that way.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, they may not even be able to play the game this weekend because of the hurricane. I mean, what is it, Joaquin, I think it is? I mean,
Yeah, Joaquin.
we all seen what happens when a Joaquin gets a little blown up. I'm just saying, Joaquin Phoenix. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But anyway, Carolina, I hope we were able to help you. Let's say it was a Rome and Castillo. What's the word I'm looking for?
Tutorial?
Yeah, tutorial. That's good. Yeah, it's a big word for me to say. That's don't let the radio host gig think I'm smart. It's the vocabulary is small here. That's why I need my other guy.
Yeah.
I trust you over there. On the other side of this plexiglass, I've actually assembled between the 2 of us to make it more realistic of that we're in a radio studio. I mean, that's how actually crazy I am at this.
Yeah.
That I've literally put a plastic thing between the 2 of us to be more lifelike that we're in a radio show.
Wait. I don't know if I can pick that up, but that's me knocking on the glass there.
Yeah, that's him. Come in the studio. It's like, boom, he's right there.
Yeah.
So it's that's actually kind of weird when you think about it.
Well, hopefully our tutoring has helped Carolina, and maybe whoever becomes the coach, maybe take some of our advice, go with it, free of charge.
Yeah, I mean, it's free because, well, we don't charge anything.
Yeah.
And we're really not even getting paid for this.
No, yeah. Currently, we're not being paid for any Carolina advice.
I mean, but we're not getting paid for anything.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
This is all good fun. All of it. Helping Carolina out is what we do. I think that would be the genuine thing, is to help Carolina in the situation that they're in. So
everybody would want help in the situation.
Yeah. So Carolina, I hope you take some of our advice. Hopefully, maybe listen to the show before the weekend hits, just because, sure, there's that game tomorrow night, but plenty of time to pick up anybody, make any of the moves we've suggested. I don't think you have anybody even in the game tomorrow, so I don't think you have anything to worry about. But just, we here at the Rome and Castillo show, we're here to help everybody. We've been doing this for a long time, radio gig aside. I mean, we've done a lot of tasks together.
Yeah.
So
Work together often.
I mean, for crying out loud, I married your sister. So
Sure enough,
yeah. So it's like a partnership, very strong. So
yeah. Love working with you.
Yeah. I'm not sure where I was going with that. Just my mind's on. I got other things going on in my mind right now. There's other stuff going on.
I've seen you checking your phone a lot. So.
Well, I mean, when you're running, you're running a radio shows for 3 different leagues. You're currently running something going on in the college league, so you're constantly looking at your phone, seeing what's going on. So I mean, I'm always sources about stuff, whether things are going down. So you're always checking the phone
In case
there's anything pending announced. Actually, well, that's weird. I just got some breaking news alert.
Oh, wow. Why not break it on the air?
It's about the Carolina Cougars.
Coincidentally, we're talking about them right now.
Are we live? I thought this was taped.
No, we're live.
Huh. Well, let me, wow. I don't even know what to say here.
Well, just read it out. I mean, you can't over-embellish. You just got to get the message out, pull it up on Band-Aid.
All right. Well, I mean, according to my source here, Carolina's actually just brought in an owner and a coach.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's 2 teams in the South that are going to have a problem. Because
so pillaging other people in the league.
Oh, and that's what you have to do, right? I mean,
you could bring externally, but I mean.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm flabbergasted by this. I think I have it here. All right, here we go. Here's the announcement. Breaking news live right here on the first ever show of the TFOF. So, I mean, that alone already is amazing. All right, here's the announcement. The announcement is that Carolina Cougars have signed a new owner. It is the Tennessee Stonewalls' former GM, David Brome.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah.
That's something.
And then did that owner then hire someone as his first action to Carolina?
Well, he brought in a head coach.
Does it say who he brought in as the
coach?
I don't know if I want to announce this.
No?
Let's announce it.
Okay, go ahead.
Not only is Tennessee looking for a GM, but Atlanta's looking for a GM also, because it says here that the first order of duty by the new owner of Carolina Cougars, he brought in Ryan Castillo as their head coach.
Wow. That is shocking. I mean, that's 2 teams right now that this is what, Wednesday night, are scrambling to fill positions now. Maybe we should have done this show about those 2 teams, because they're going to need help now.
Well, they just lost their GMs.
That's what I mean.
Damn. And it's 11 o'clock at night, no less. Eastern Standard Time as well. Let me just point that out. Eastern Standard Time.
Well, the one good thing I would say, if you lose a GM, say, as I kind of said in my interview this week, not that it had anything to do with other events that were going on, but from the GM position, you really don't have a whole lot to do during the season. I mean, you got little to do, but a lot of that's done in the off season. You know what I mean? So if you're going to lose one of the 3, losing the GM isn't as catastrophic as like losing a head coach or an owner at this point, because those are heavily involved during the season. But losing a GM during the season, well, you could probably recover. So if a GM was leaving, he wouldn't really be hurting his team as bad. So there probably would be any hard feelings about that kind of thing.
I don't think so. I mean, it's not like, your owner is the commissioner. I can't believe you signed off on this. That's even what's crooked, is that the commissioner has to sign off on a deal like this.
Right. Well, that's true.
Wow. Well, then, there you are, folks. That's TFOF TSPN breaking news right there on the David Rome and Ryan Castillo show, that David Rome has left the Tennessee Stonewalls as their GM to be the owner of Carolina Cougars, and has brought in the GM of the Atlanta Vipers to be their head coach in Carolina.
Shocking. Yeah.
I can't wait for the next show. I can't wait. Well, I guess we'll sign it off. I've got bags to pack.
Sure.
David Rome doesn't have bags to pack, but David Brome has bags to pack because it's Wednesday. You got to get to Atlanta. Look, it's only it's about a 4-hour drive to Atlanta from Tennessee.
Yeah.
To Carolina, about a 4-hour drive. How far is it for Atlanta?
It's probably about the same. Carolina is probably right in between the times between Atlanta and Tennessee. So it kind of converges right on that one area. So,
I guess I'll meet you at the airport.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Hopefully there's no hard feelings with any of the old teams. I'm sure you'll all be professionals here. Wish everybody good luck in the future.
Hey, good luck, Tennessee. And that's
Atlanta too.
And that's going to do us here at the first episode of the TFOF. For Ryan Castillo, he's already left. He's, apparently he's in a hurry. I would be in a hurry too if I was on the same team as the commish. Just saying. And this is David Rome saying, you guys have a good one and stay tuned. See ya. We now go live to a press conference being held at the headquarters of the Carolina Cougars. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the media joining us. My name is David Brome, and I am here to let you guys all know that I have now taken ownership in the Carolina Cougars. And we had to work real fast here, and I already went ahead and I'm bringing in my own head coach. He is the former GM of the Atlanta Vipers. His name is Ryan Catterson. Now, to make this go over real smooth and quick with the commissioner not really thinking about what was going on, we kind of traded the head coach here in Carolina, Ryan, over to the Atlanta Vipers, Ryan for Ryan. So, Ryan is now going to be the new GM over at the Atlanta Vipers, and Ryan is coming over to be my head coach here in Carolina. I know this seems very shocking, but we feel that this was the best thing for us, and we feel we'll be able to turn this team around right off the bat. So, once again, media, I thank you for coming here. This is a quick thing. We got to get going. It's late. We got a lot of stuff to do. We got to get this team back together and turn around this 1-2 start. All right, thank you.
Helicopter, North Carolina, come on and raise up. This one's for you, this one's for who? Us, yes, North Carolina, come on and raise up. Take your shirt off, twist it around your hand, spin it like a helicopter. North Carolina, come on and raise up. This one's for you, this one's for who? Us, yes, who am I?
These nuts. Got him. Got him.